Welcome to the Lowcountry Revolutionaries, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of Charleston, South Carolina's vibrant entrepreneurial scene. I'm your host, Bill Bellot, founder of Veritas Exoscience, and each week we're spotlighting the boldest innovators from the Chucktown startup community. These are the visionaries pouring their heart and soul into the businesses that are transferring Charleston into a global hub of creativity and American ingenuity. Get ready for raw, real conversations with the trailblazers shaping our city's future. Let's dive in. I would like to welcome Helen Hudson. Helen is the founder and CEO of SafeShowings, a real estate safety technology platform designed to help protect real estate professionals and homeowners. Inspired by real-world safety concerns while showing homes, Helen built SafeShowings to provide proactive tools such as GPS-based check-ins, emergency alerts, and secure verification features. Welcome, Helen. How are you doing today?
Great. I'm so excited to be here with you, William.
Yes, it's great to have you. So you're a real estate professional, but you've built a software tool. Tell me, how did you go from one to the others like that? That sounds really interesting.
It is. Well, I've always had an entrepreneurial mind. And in 2018, I'd had my license as a realtor for just about a year. And I was meeting a buyer at a property on a Saturday at 2.
Right.
And when I drove up to the neighborhood, the hair on the back of my neck stood up. It just didn't feel like a safe area.
Right.
But I parked my car. I waited for the buyer to arrive. He arrived. We went in the home, and it was a small house. I left the door open. We're always taught to have our exit strategy.
Right.
He walked to the back of the house, and he was on his cell phone. A minute later, a truck drove up, and 2 men jumped on the porch.
Whoa.
That's when my heart stopped. That's
right.
when suddenly I realized nobody doesn't know where I am or who I'm with.
Right.
And that's where my story began. I knew that I had to look at safety for my own self and value the safety over the sale of a property.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, that's totally like, a very real story. And so that completely spurred you and inspired you to kind of build this, because you can imagine if it happened to you, imagine it could happen to anybody, and you just never know. You're out there, you're out there on your own when you're doing real estate, and you're interacting with lots of people, and you don't ever know completely who they are sometimes, I imagine.
Yeah, that day when that happened to me, the rest of the story, thankfully, I'm here to tell.
Right.
Those 3 men didn't have intentions to harm me. I was already nervous, and when they jumped up on the porch, I regained my composure. I gave them my card, told them I was working with a buyer, and they could call me for an appointment. What their side of the story is, they were driving by. They saw the realtor magnet on my car. They noticed the for sale sign, and they saw that the door was open. So they were just trying to pop in and see it, but it caught me off guard. And I never wanted to feel that again. So I left that day, and I went home and basically did research. How did I go from being a realtor to an entrepreneur, working with code, people that can develop an app? That's the rest of the story. I did the research, and I couldn't believe that over 400,000 of the 1.3 million real estate professionals have had situations like I have, where they fear for their safety. And as you said, it is not a shock, because we do work alone with buyers and sellers and during open houses.
Right.
And when I also did research to see through the NAR website, is there a tool that can be strategic and deter crime? I couldn't find it.
Right.
And that's when I knew the next step is for me to create it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, it sounds like, oh, of course there's something like this, but when you went and looked for it, it's like, actually it doesn't exist, and you did it. And so how many people are kind of using it right now? Do you have like any statistics on it?
Yeah, we have about 200,000 realtors using it. We target the local state associations and MLSs, because we found through business, you learn as you go. We traveled to about 45 trade shows in the first 2 years to create awareness. And realtors, we juggle a lot, and I kind of understand it. They love what I'm doing, but they don't want to invest in their own safety,
Right.
most of them.
Right.
And so we had to pivot and think of a way to generate revenue.
Yes.
And the best approach was to work alongside the local associations, state associations, and MLSs because they do care about safety.
Right.
And they look for ways to add benefits to their association or MLS that make people want to join. So that's our strategy, is partnering with at the high level and having them invest in safety for their members.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And is there, I haven't looked, I apologize, but is there something like where, if you're a homeowner and you're selling your house, do you get does it help you as far as having better showings or stuff like that? How does it help with the homeowners?
I love that you brought that up. It's really, we try to cover all bases, and I'm passionate about realtor safety, buyer, seller safety, and yes, the listing client safety, because that's a valid point. I bring that up when I talk to my associations and MLSs that, a lot of times we forget that side of the equation. But if you had your house on the market,
right,
William, I could bring somebody in not knowing they have criminal background or criminal intentions.
Right.
Yep. And they can case out your property, look and see where your child's bedroom is, where you store your valuables, and come back in 2 weeks or 2 months and harm you.
Yeah.
And we don't know how often that happens because there's really not a law, policy, or mandate that holds us accountable for safety.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly, it's funny you say it. It's that's exactly the kind of stuff that I think about. I worked in the federal government in sort of the security area for a long time. And we could say OPSEC, operational security kind of thing. But that's exactly what I think about. It's oh my gosh, we're opening our house to who knows who to come by and look at everything, and I have to leave everything unlocked. It's oh my gosh, what do I need to move out of the house or change or make sure it doesn't look too identifiable or make it look like, hey, somebody could come back here and break in really easy. All of those things. It's
right.
And you don't want to hurt yourself by saying, hey, I want to make this hard for people to look at the house because I want to sell it. So it's a very hard thing to do if you're thinking about those things.
Yes, good point. We do have a lot, especially in today's world where things are not as safe as they used to be.
Right.
We do have listing clients that do not allow their home to be shown because they're worried for the same reasons you are.
Yeah.
So that is a problem. The other thing that I learned when I was looking for a tool to be strategic, as you mentioned, I couldn't find it. That's why I found a problem, but not a solution. So I was looking for 3 things. I wanted to make sure I solved my feeling of fear that I felt that day when I said, nobody knows where I am or who I'm with. And the other part is I wanted to make sure every buyer and seller, when I talk to them on the phone to set that appointment, they know ahead of time that I use a safety tool that can help keep me safe in a professional way.
Right.
That way you deter crime. That number one fear a criminal has is not the punishment for their crime. It's getting caught. So if you called me or we're on the phone and I say, hey, William, I look forward to meeting you Saturday. I just want you to know our association cares about safety. And we use an app called SafeShowings. If you hear me say that and you're thinking of committing your first crime or you have a criminal background, you're going to hang up the phone and call somebody else because you don't want to get caught. You're looking for an easy target.
Exactly.
And that approach works very well. We also have GPS technology. So agents that use SafeShowings, they're where they are is being tracked at all times. They don't have to key in where they're going or what showing they're going to do next. It's automatic. It also prompts them to put in who they're meeting with before they get out of the safety of their car. That's an important feature. You've told somebody before you meet with them, hey, I use a safety app called SafeShowings. I'm required to take a photo. When you get to the property, you start the app. It starts the timer for 45 minutes. Then it asks you, who are you meeting with? That's important.
Right.
If a crime's committed, right? We want to know who you're with. All I do is touch on your name in my contacts. There's nowhere I have to type.
Yeah.
Then I get out of the car and I greet you. If it's a listing appointment, ring the doorbell. If it's working with a buyer, I just say, hey, as I mentioned, I just need to get a quick photo.
Right.
The app also has 911 feature. So if you were to attack me and destroy my phone, my 3 emergency contacts will still be sent the last location of the phone, who I'm with, because I've auto-populated that.
Right.
And if I were able to capture that photo, they would know the picture of the person.
Right. Right.
And that's all in 10 seconds. You press that 911 button and it calls for help in 10 seconds.
That's amazing. That sounds really great. And so, like with the GPS feature, can you go in and say, okay, who can see where I am? Do you have some sort of control over that? It's like, hey, I may want a family member to know where I am all the time, a spouse or something like that.
Good. Part of the setup process when you register for our app is to enter 3 emergency contacts. Okay. And that's obvious because somebody could be out of the country or have their phone off. So we make you put in 3. The only time they're going to see where you are is if your timer expires. Okay. If you at 5 minutes, if the agent, you get that last 5-minute warning if they're distracted and they don't reset their timer. Right. The 3 emergency contacts will be sent a text at the same time saying there might be a problem. This is who you're with and where you are, and an image of exact location that you're at, and the photo if you took a photo. So good question. Yeah, the monitoring's in the back end. It only shows to your 3 emergency contacts and 911 if there's a problem.
Nice. So have you working with any particular law enforcement agencies? Have you had any interactions there? I mean, certainly if a 911 thing happens that they interact, but is there any interaction beforehand where, you've talked to them about the app and explained to how it works or anything around that?
We had a presentation with the local law enforcement early on just to kind of get their feedback. And we were told, based on the image requirement of taking a photo, that was so powerful. Their feedback was, you're making our job so much easier. Imagine my first app that for SafeShowings, the first version, I wanted to get an image of a driver's license because I was in property management in the 80s, and that's what they do. Right. They just make you surrender a driver's license before they'll show you an empty apartment. And I went to the NAR conference, the first legislative conference for me to tour before we traveled. Right. And I met someone that said, why are you getting an image of a driver's license? And I had to hear what he had to say. I said, what do you mean? He said, you need to get an image of a face. And I thought, wow, that's powerful. Right. I wish my developer had told me that, because your camera is already in your app, Right. So we pivoted again and we made sure that we get a photo of a person before we enter a property. People cannot fake that image when you take a picture, and they cannot say, I forgot my face. That's why we get an image of a face.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So have you had, I mean, I hate to ask the kind of rough question. It's have you had any people basically saved from having to use this app? Has there been situations where this has prevented a crime or caught someone from when they've done something?
I haven't had specific feedback in that way, but I do know, based on just my experience and being around the safety discussions, that the important fact is you're deterring crime if you follow the best practices. So we're not able to trace that person when I spoke to them on the phone and told them I use a safety app and then they hang up. We're not really following those metrics, but I'm sure there are a % of times where it has saved lives. It's making agents feel more in control of their safety. Right. And we've had roundtable discussions. I'm sure you're thinking this as much as the listeners might be, is what about, the agents? We're commission only pretty much. So you feel like when you're telling somebody on the phone that you use a safety app and you're required to take a photo, that they're going to decide not to work with you. Right. That doesn't happen. Really, if you're sincere about buying or selling and I'm on the phone with you, would you be offended if I told you I use a safety app in today's world? Yeah. If you have nothing to hide, all it does is wean out those people that might have bad intentions to harm you. If you hang up the phone, that's because you're looking for somebody else that that is an easy target, and that could be a blessing.
Yeah. I mean, I remember like, little story, similar thing happened. This real estate agent had, this was like 20 years ago. I was looking for a house. I was going to an area that, I didn't know very well. And the real estate agent was coming from a bigger area to a rural area. And so she was using her dad app. So her dad came along with her because neither one of us knew each other. And, she didn't know what she was getting into. She's going out into the countryside. I was just like, hey, I just wanted to see a house. So her dad came along with her and, made sure everything was okay before we went around and looked at houses. But, that was what people had back 20 years ago. And so this is really exciting that there's something where, you can have a little bit of security and caution about yourself, but it also gives you the ability to kind of give a benefit to the sellers and the buyers too. Everybody feels more comfortable, right?
Yeah, we have a safety toolkit we provide our partners that has safety point talking graphics. They have rider signs and open house flyers.
Nice.
And the signs actually have images of cameras. So just as you said, for the listing, the person selling their house, that listing agent has a rider on the top of the sign saying safe showings, and it has a camera monitored by Safe Showings. And even if that family doesn't have cameras, if I'm a criminal and I ride by and I see that they do,
Right.
I'm not going to take a risk. I'm going to look for another house. But those riding by that are thinking of buying and selling, they're going to look at that listing agent and say, wow, I want that same level of security when I sell my house. I'm going to remember who that agent is.
Right. And, funny enough, like I also think like if I saw that, not even knowing you or knowing anything about this product, I'd be like, if I saw that on a real estate sign, I say, oh, and this is just my bias, I would think, oh, this is a higher quality house. This is a higher quality property. These people really care about their house and their neighborhood and stuff like that. And so they want to make sure that, everybody is safe coming to this and they're safe too,
Amen. That's right.
So that's really cool. So you have you always lived in the Charleston area? Did you grow up here or did you move here? I moved here. That's why I asked.
Like most people, I moved here. I was born in South Carolina, but moved all over North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia. My dad was in textile sales, but as soon as I visited Charleston, I knew it was a place I wanted to live, and moved here almost 10 years ago.
Okay.
It's coming up in June, will be 10 years ago, and that's when I changed my career to real estate, and then quickly had the situation happen and went into entrepreneurship with Safe Showings. But I know Charleston's been a great fit for me because of the people I've met through this process. Early on, I was part of the Harbor Accelerator cohort. 11, which is a 16-week program. And I was fortunate enough to get invited to that. And through that process, I've met mentors. I was able to do my first pitch on stage and just got so much experience through that. So Charleston's been a very supportive environment. I found my first developer, Code and Trust, locally here in Charleston from that experience. They were at the cohort. And that's how I was able to start. And I loved working with them because it's face-to-face. They're local, and they knew how to help me build an app and build a website and all those things. So Charleston's a great place for entrepreneurial people.
Yeah. So, that's a great story. The Harbor Center is a great resource around here. I know a lot of folks that have utilized that, especially around this kind of technology type space, building apps and software development and all that kind of stuff. So, you had a very interesting experience. You're coming into sort of a different field from real estate. You're coming into sort of software app type field. What advice would you have for like other entrepreneurs out there that are kind of like, hey, I have this great idea, but it's kind of in an area that, I don't normally do?
Oh, I'd love to inspire them. Don't wait for everything to be perfect. Just surround yourself with support systems like the startups and 1 Million Cups and any of these avenues where you meet other like-minded people that will build your confidence. You can't wait for everything to be perfect. I'm the first to say every day I learn something new with technology or just, the challenges are going to be there. But if the passion's there and you have a problem to solve, you shouldn't let go. You should just keep pushing through and never give up.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great advice. I am going to try to take your advice too. Never give up. Keep pushing forward.
That's right.
It is a big adventure starting your own business. So I can testify to that. So just keep pushing. And yeah, Helen, this has been wonderful. I really enjoyed talking with you today. And thank you for sharing. And thanks for developing this. It's helping thousands of people right now be safe with their home showings. So it's been great. And come back on sometime and tell us, what the next thing's going on with your business.
Well, quickly, I will say that we are getting ready to add another feature to our app. So
Really?
we're in a different phase, and this could it will take it to a different level. So it's a background check feature. It's a reverse lookup using your cell phone. It'll just compound and add to what we've already built and make it the best app out there. So we're real excited to push forward with SafeShowings Enterprise Plus, which will have the background check feature.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a great feature. I was sort of thinking about that earlier. It's like, okay, background check would be really awesome, but that's kind of like there's a lot to do. And I imagine it's taking you guys a little bit to kind of figure out how to do that in a quick and efficient manner, So
yes, definitely. And I appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure talking with you and getting to know you.
Thank you so much. Well, you have a great day.
You too.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Lowcountry Revolutionaries. Thanks for joining us as we celebrate the fearless entrepreneurs making wave in Charleston's Chucktown Startups community. I'm Bill Bellot, and it's been an honor to share these inspiring stories with you. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs a spark of Lowcountry innovation. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.